Are you dreading your next home repair? Don't. Crew Pros is your one-call solution for everything your home needs. Whether it's heating and air, plumbing, complete roof replacement, whole home generators, and electrical repairs. Our professionals get the job done right. Crew Pros is your single source for high-quality home services at affordable prices. For everything your home needs, Crew Pros. Remodel, repair, replace.
Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said I don't have that fire in my eye no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
What up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Grizz 901. We are presented by Zach Jaworski State Farm, where they treat you like family. I'll be your host as always. We're live here on Tuesday. We just got done with the NBA draft. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals is actually going on right now. So if you're not tuning in live and you're catching us later on, thank you. But if you have a chance and you want to be on here, hit us up in the chat. We'll be more than happy to kind of share some of our insight, but also just kind of speak with you about maybe different things that you're thinking about. We're going to get into first the NBA draft and what the draft order looks like, how it affects the Grizzlies. And from there, we're going to go straight into the Ja Redemption Detour. Everybody knows what happened. Everybody knows the situation. We're going to hit on it and share our thoughts on kind of what we see that is coming out of this and what's next for 12. And from there, honestly, it's talking about the suspension. We're going to hit on that briefly. Adam Silver just talked about it there at the NBA draft. And then from there, we're going to hit on the offseason bonanza because now all of this happening with Ja, right? All of that's going on. People are talking about trading him. People are talking about what to do in the offseason because he could be suspended. We don't know the amount of games yet. I imagine we're going to find out the amount of games once they do their proper due diligence with the NBA. And then after that, we'll find out way before a free agency and before the draft. I would imagine we're going to hear about that probably in the next, a couple weeks. So it shouldn't be too much longer. We'll hear about that before we crown an NBA champion. Okay. But before we get all there, you know what we got to do. What up, Nate? What up?
What up, DG?
Man, I'm feeling good. Just got done watching a little bit of the draft.
Antonio.
Yep. So, yeah, listen, I'm excited. Let's go ahead and get into it. Nathan Qualls is here. He's joining us as he always does. We're going to hit on the draft right now, but it is going to be fun because you're talking about now in the Southwest Division. You got Wembanyama. You got Ja Morant, hopefully. You got Zion, hopefully. You got Luka. Don't eat honey buns. You have so many guys in the actual Southwest Division. And then you even have Jabari Smith, right? Jabari Smith and then Jalen Green. Wow.
Şengün.
And then Alperen Şengün. Man, the Southwest Division is loaded. So, first of all, we're going to hit on this very briefly because it's the hottest news. It just happened. It just wrapped up. First initial thoughts, how does it affect the Grizzlies?
It's gonna suck eventually. But I mean, right now I think it's more fun than anything. San Antonio obviously has their guy to build around, but I doubt it happens in 1, even 2 seasons where they become a super serious threat. And if you look at it that way, as a Grizz fan, you get to see Wemby play 4 times a year. And that's gonna be a lot of fun to see that. Yeah. So but yeah, I mean 3 to 5 years, you're gonna be like, God dang it, dude. Really? They got this guy?
So I got a question on that one. All right. So we have Jaren Jackson Jr. He's already he's growing, or he's in his man body, or he's early development of man body. He's going to be a little bit of ahead of Wembanyama. If you trade these guys, not in an actual trade, but you trade their careers and when they start. So Wembanyama is there 3 years ago in San Antonio, and now we're drafting Jaren Jackson Jr. I feel very at edge. I'm a little scared. But the fact that you already have a guy that can move like a unicorn, he's a guy that I feel comfortable putting him out there, a 7-footer that he can go out on the perimeter and guard at Wembanyama. He also gets another couple of years to really grow into his adult man body. I really think that this is okay. I feel confident in Jaren being able to guard Wembanyama enough to kind of help out a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is the strength. The strength is the biggest part. But I mean, listen, Wemby's freaky, dude. It just straight up like he can come into the NBA, and if he's moving like a guard and hitting pull up, step back threes, and there's only so much you can do. But that's what you're banking on, is him having to grow into it a little bit. The speed of the game, I think, will be a little much just because he's a rookie. But listen, we'll see. The dude is a freaky talent, and that might show up as soon as year one. So it's going to be a different looking Spurs. I would think we need to get Pop out of there. I think it's time for Pop to retire. At least get a different coach.
How good of a position is Wembanyama going to a Spurs organization? Like, that is huge.
You're talking about a guy who coached Tim Duncan and David Robinson.
Yes.
Like, that's huge. And he's a completely different player than those guys were, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But he's already got the guard skills. Now you got a guy that can teach you the game and the real big man stuff like Pop. It's a perfect situation. I mean, I would think so. Maybe not. Maybe he's such a different type of player. I don't know. But great for him. It's going to suck for the Grizzlies. But I actually think the rest of the top 4 or so worked out pretty well for the Grizzlies as far as draft stuff goes.
You were talking to me about this beforehand, and I told you kind of save it for the show. So explain to me what you were meaning, because we kind of held it off because I wanted to hear about it on the show. So what do you mean about the rest of the top of the draft? Like, I think it was regarding guards now.
Well, if you look at who is left after Wemby, the 2 guys that everyone talks about are Scoot Henderson and Brandon Miller. You got one who's like, I don't know. He's a guard that's built like freaking Bobby Wagner. He's just a force of nature. Dude, the first time I saw him, I thought he was a 2K player someone put on my feed. It's freaky how big that dude is. And then you got a shooting wing that's coming up. And all intents and purposes, those guys are going 2 through 5. And that's Charlotte, Portland. Charlotte, Portland, Houston, Detroit. There's a lot of guys. Houston, I think not so much. But between Charlotte and Portland and Detroit, especially Portland and Detroit, there's some targets in there for the Grizzlies to go get that if you bring in one of those wings, maybe all of a sudden a Jeremy Grant becomes a lot more available than he was before. Anthony Simons. You look at Portland in particular, you got Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, and Sharp, who just came in.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, those guys, you can't have all of them in there, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys that the Grizzlies can go trade for that. We'll talk about this later in the show, but they should be targeting those types of guys. Got Bogdanovich with Detroit, even though I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit just waives Bogdanovich. He's only got $2 million guaranteed this year, as opposed to, I think, $18 million, maybe. I can't remember off the top of my head that he's owed. So maybe even higher than that. But he could get waived. But it opens up trade scenarios where those teams are much more likely to come off of those guys than maybe they were beforehand.
All right, so real quick, and we won't be on this long. We want to talk mainly about the Ja stuff, and we're already going longer than we thought. What's up, Chris? What's up, Dak Daniels? Thanks for kind of hanging out with us. But Nathan, do me a favor. Keep us up to date on the NBA game that's happening right now. A lot of people are watching, but keep us up to date. Mainly, I want to be kept up to date because I'm not watching it.
Do you want an update currently?
Yeah, what's the score?
The Nuggets are slapping them. What is the actual score? It's 30-2. Oh, my phone. It's on commercial. My phone isn't updated.
Wow. That's all
Hold
right.
up. 34-19. 34-19.
Wow.
Got you, dog.
I like it. All right, real quick. All right, so you obviously have guys like Keldon Johnson, who I like, but also Devin Vassell, who I like as well. They're both wings, right? They're both kind of small forwardy kind of feeling, right? They're both like 6'5", I believe. Yeah, they're both 6'5". They both can shoot pretty well. Any chance that the Spurs would come off of one of them because maybe they're not in the window, even though they both are young. I believe Devin Vassell is 22. Keldon Johnson is 23. I don't know what their contracts looks like because it's just all just happened. Any chance they would come off of maybe one of those players because when Wembanyama's coming there, they know it's going to take a year or two to really get, him to be, a decent high upside filling into his body, an NBA player.
Yes, but
what would you do?
I would probably keep him unless I could get some kind of vet guard like a Tyus Jones, for instance.
What about Tyus for Trey?
No. What are we talking about? If I'm the Grizzlies, I'm not sending Tyus for, quite frankly, anyone on the Spurs, if I'm being honest. I don't think it brings you what you need in a whole enough fashion.
Yeah. Well, both guys have very good contracts. As Zach Daniels is saying that Keldon does. I think both guys have very good contracts. They're both under contract. That would be what I would be looking for. But also Charlotte. Charlotte, are they going to bring in another guard? Maybe not. If they do, would they ship out a guard? There's a lot of moving windows. And so I think it's very important because the Grizzlies need guards. They need guys that can shoot. If you're bringing in one of these young, high upside guys, you want to put them in right away. And you don't want to have anybody in front of them potentially. But also, if you're in the Spurs, you're rebuilding. This actually probably sets you back a year, but you're going to move up much faster, right? So you want to maybe take a step back, but you're also going to move much faster up because when Wembanyama gets good, it's dangerous.
And to be clear, I think a Keldon Johnson or Devin Vassell, I think they're really good players. And skill-wise, they feasibly meet what you need. My biggest thing is you want guys who are sort of proving it. You want vets. And neither one of those guys is that, right? They've been on losing teams. Again, I wouldn't hate either of those guys on the team. I don't think it'd be the best trade the Grizzlies could make.
All right, we're going to get into all about Ja and pretty much these next two segments. We're going to talk about Ja, the Redemption Detour, and then the suspension that's looming. We just heard from Adam Silver. And then we're going to wrap it up with the our segment we're calling Off-Season Bonanza. And that's pretty much trying to figure out what they're going to do now in this situation. Obviously, we'll find out about Ja's suspension very soon. But Ja Morant, obviously, we woke up a little bit. A lot of people saw it, I guess, the night before when it was on Instagram Live, which trick question. But this is a real question. Has anything good happened on Instagram Live? I didn't hear you. Oh, you're muted. Oh, there you go. There you go.
I'm not muted. The answer is no.
Oh, sorry. It was we couldn't hear you.
Okay.
Real quick, Dylan Brooks sign and trade for Johnson. I guess that's Keldon Johnson. Who says no besides San Antonio? Just San Antonio. I like that one. So Ja Morant, we wake up. It's Mother's Day. I'm trying to figure out a way to make a breakfast burrito for my wife. She wants a steak breakfast burrito, mind you. And she bought 2.5 pounds of flank steak. If we're just kind of just keeping a buck here. And so I'm trying to figure my way out through all this and trying to look at these different Martha Stewart recipes. And so I'm working my way through that. And she says, "Hey, what happened to Ja?" And literally my heart dropped. Like, what do you mean? And then I see the video and I'm like, man, initial thoughts were disappointment. And that's, man, I think that's really all it is now. It's not mad. It's disappointment. It reminds me of, my kids sometimes. Like sometimes they do. I didn't burn it. Chris saying I burned it. So I didn't. It's what your kids kind of do to you sometimes, and you're just like, man, you're just disappointed. You're not mad. You're not angry. You're just disappointed. And so that's my initial thoughts. And I think it was. I think that was probably the sentiment of the city in general. What are your thoughts?
Oh, that's like, I can tell if you were going to Keep going or what?
I'm done.
All right. You can't see it because you only got this part of me. I got a soapbox I'm standing on. So just be prepared. I want to start off. I don't judge anyone's reactions to it as Grizzlies fans because it was a shocking thing to have happen. And I think as Grizzlies fans, a lot of us have been defending Ja Morant. And I mean, personally, I live in Salt Lake City. You want to talk about a place that can't identify with Memphis or Ja Morant? I live there. And I'm sitting there defending this guy when all this stuff has gone down the first time. And this happens. And one of the first thoughts, I'm like, dude, how could you do this to us? Right? I mean, and that's not fair. It's not a fair response. But if I'm being honest, my first response is, dude, how could you do this to us?
Yeah.
We're defending you. I've got a whole city behind you. All this stuff's going on. You know you're screwing us by doing this. And I was texting with our friends in the group. I'm like, I'm not happy I just bought these Ja ones. Like, if I'm being honest. And so every response to it initially is going to be emotional. And people are going to be disappointed and frustrated, which is why I'm glad we had a few days to think about it.
Yeah.
And when I had a few days, listen to some people, if anyone hasn't already, go listen to Bomani Jones talk about this, both on Gary Parrish's show, excuse me, and on his own show. I loved everything he had to say about it. And I thought it was super insightful. And I know there's a lot of people saying he just doesn't care. Like, clearly he doesn't care. And they feel betrayed because he seemed so sincere in everything he was saying, both after it happened and in his exit interviews, etc. And I've talked about it a little bit on the show. I don't talk about it a lot on the show. But as someone who has been through some severe, dark anxiety and depression, it looks textbook to me. Like, that's what he's going through.
Yeah.
And when that's going on, people can have a tendency to act out and do things that make zero sense just because they're going crazy and they have to do something to feel something. And that's because Ja Morant's not a guy who just doesn't care. It's never been who he is, right? And I don't think it's all of a sudden who he's become. I also think he knew exactly what he was doing. And I don't think he was in a completely inebriated state or something where he didn't know what was going on. I think he just did it because he was just like acting out because of what's going on inside of him. And that leads to a couple of things. One being, I don't think it's fair to give up on Ja Morant. When some people wanting to trade him, doing stuff like that. First off, logically, I mean, the return you're getting wouldn't make any sense at this point. Anyways, second off, the dude clearly has a chance at recovery, and he can be both sincere in everything he said, doing the right things, going to therapy, getting help, and still make a really terrible decision that can be seen almost like a drug relapse. That's genuinely what it's like for people who are going through severe anxiety and depression. You almost relapse, just like someone who's addicted to heroin. It's like that. All that can be true at the same time. And it's a dude who needs to figure it out. And he's got a lot of pressure. The dude has to have a couple of things happen. One, he's got to have somebody take him under his wing that he'll actually listen to. And I'd love it for it to be Desmond Bane or Jaren Jackson Jr. It's got to be someone like a Kevin Durant or a LeBron James that says, hey, you're going to spend the summer with me, or we're going to get you right. Like, we're going to teach you how to handle this. And I think Kevin Durant, one, loves Ja. Two, is a great example of a dude who I think took media way too personal, took the pressure way too personal. And now you see him on there, like, getting in Twitter troll beefs with Charles Barkley just because he thinks it's funny. Like, that's a dude who, whether you like it or not, figured out how he was going to handle it.
Yeah.
Ja needs that. Because quite frankly, Desmond Bane can walk into a mall and no one know who he is still. Kevin Durant, Most people will in Memphis. There's a lot.
Memphis, yes.
If you're Desmond Bain and you go to Texas, there's a lot of people who don't know who he is. Let's be honest. If you're Kevin Durant, you could go to Italy. Everyone knows who you are. It doesn't matter. 2, Ja has got to get this thing. He's got to get rid of it.
Man.
And I don't just mean you can't keep having these people videoing around you, even though, dude, you got to just, if you're his friends, stay off of it while he's around. I mean, dude, don't just deactivate your Twitter, delete it. Don't just deactivate your Instagram, delete it. Because where's a lot of that pressure coming from? It's stuff he's seeing on here, man.
Yeah.
If you're Ja Morant, you don't need to care what Stephen A. Smith's saying on First Take. You don't need to care what Kendrick Perkins is saying in between pouring honey on grown men and then licking it off when the cameras are done. You don't need to be paying attention and seeing what people are saying on Twitter. You don't need to know any of that. Yeah. It's just adding pressure in a world that isn't real. And to him, I guarantee you it's super real. The intro to this show is him calling you out for a tweet you made when he was a rookie. Mm-hmm. That's not good. You don't need to know that. And in my mind, if he got rid of that, it would help with his anxiety, his depression, the pressure, all of it. The social media and mental health stuff is real.
It is.
When I was going through it, I deleted all of it, got off all of it. And I was so much better off for it.
Yeah.
So I think I would hope you get someone like a Kevin Durant to take him under his wing, to help him out, teach him the path. 2, get off of the socials, dude. I mean, like, get them off your phone. Do not look at them.
Yeah.
Maybe ever again. But there is a path back for Ja Morant. And he's still a 23-year-old kid figuring it out. And I think he can. I don't 100%. Think this is a guy. I think he will do better around other hoopers. And I'm not blaming this on his friends. I'm not putting this on his friends. They need to be smarter. But it's not their fault. But at the end of the day, the company you keep influences how you act. It's not their fault. They didn't make him act like that. At the end of the day, they still have a different influence on them than other hoopers will. And go be around those guys.
Real quick, let me hit on a couple of things you just talked about, because I think that was, 1, very honest of you. So thank you for that. But 2, I will say that the friend stuff, right? So we saw that whatever his name is had the IG live at 100 plus people, probably as many as I would have if I actually did all that stuff, right? So we're the same guy. I'm just not getting my stuff screen recorded. But I will say that, just like you said, the company you keep. I know this verbatim, and I will let people behind the, see, this is not anything bad in my life. But what I will say is my cousin, who probably doesn't even watch the show, but my cousin, who I am as close to as I am anybody in else's world other than probably my wife or maybe one other friend. I am as close as I possibly can be to him. Sometimes he's made bad decisions, worse than I have, right? We've all made bad decisions, but he's made worse decisions than I've made in life. When he's with me, and this is what I've been told, but also it's just the truth. When he's with me, we don't get in trouble. Life is normal, especially now. But back then, 10, 12, 15 years ago, it was fine. We had a great time. We always laugh. We always had a nice beverage. It was always good. But I was always told he acts differently with you than he does these other guys. So when I say that is because, yes, you can be the same person and you can go with your boys and you can act a certain way because, honestly, that's how they get down. That's how you get down. You enjoy that stuff too. The problem is when you are on a different level. When I became more into the professional world, he didn't go that. My cousin didn't go that direction, right? We've now gotten closer. Now we're going back. It takes time for some people. I went professional world. He went a little bit differently, and that's perfectly fine. We're still close, but I didn't do those kind of things anymore, right? And I kind of kept it pretty straight and clean, and he kind of veered off every now and then and did some other stuff. The same person can do the same thing. He can go and do this, and he can go and do the other thing, and then be the exact same person. The friends aren't bad. That's who they are. And that's who they actually are going to be. we have to be careful of how we hang out with those friends. We got to separate ourselves, especially if you're making millions and millions and millions of dollars. Sometimes you got to take a step back and separate yourself a little bit. Okay. I'm not saying those friends are the worst people in the world, but sometimes that's just who they are. And if that's who they want to be, that's fine. Take a step back, understand who you actually are, because you are one of the highest paid people in all the world. And I think he needs to realize that. He needs to get out of places that take, like Bomani said, quarters to play pool. Like, get out of those places. Like, be on a different level. And I know you don't want to ever leave the hood, man. I get it. Dude, I grew up in Fraser. I understand the hood a little bit. Okay. I know I'm white, but I understand it a little bit. I get it. I also think that you can kind of separate yourselves when things happen and when time comes. When I had kids, I got a little bit further away from different areas because it wasn't as safe. That's life. You got to make sure you walk a better path so you can have a better future sometimes. And not everybody can. And that's kind of why the world is the way it is. It's because not everybody can get out of that. He can, and I think he's got a good head on his shoulders, and I believe he will get out of this. But it is going to take time. The reason we called this show, it was the Ja Redemption Detour. I think you hit it perfectly when you said it's just a bump, man. You're taking a different route. Like, you got thrown off your route. Like, sometimes when my wife reads me directions, I take the wrong way because I can't understand exactly what she's meaning. Was it this turn or was it that one back there? I don't know what you're saying. Let's get back on track. You know what? That's what happens. This thing sucks 100%. But I believe he'll have a chance to get back on track. But he's also going to have to face it. That's just plain and simple.
Yep. And I think you said it perfectly. People from high school, when I get around them, I act like I'm 15 again.
And that's okay. Just don't wave the gun.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying to ditch those guys. You don't want to cut them out of your life. But at the end of the day, dude, like, your life is way different now. Those guys, you can take care of them. You can bring him with you.
Yep.
I would be begging. I know he will never see this clip. He'll never see this show. I am begging someone like Kevin Durant to come take this dude under his wing. Truly, like, say, hey, you are coming with me for the summer. We're getting this right. And it can happen. Listen, there's real reason for concern, much more so now, because the behavior is super alarming to see again. So I'm not saying he's completely out of the woods. I know too much from personal experience to say that. I also know from personal experience there's a way back and there's a way forward, not just back, but forward. And it's still right in front of him.
The gun thing will never leave him. I'm telling you, it just won't. Like, I'm not saying him having the guns, the thoughts around the league, like you were saying about social media, it's always going to be there. The memes are going to be there. The pictures, people doctoring.
Yeah,
that's going to be
so
to a point.
Good. But he's so good. It's not going to be the actual perception of him. It's going to be what social media trolls do, right? And you got to learn to laugh at it. It's like me. I've been sending these memes, the Ja Wick memes, and some of these things left and right to people because they're hilarious.
They are.
And I like people, if everyone was like, oh, look at you getting his likes, so if he's like and making fun of Ja, no one would benefit from laughing at that more than Ja.
Yeah.
Learn to laugh. You got to learn to laugh at yourself, not take yourself seriously, embrace the way people do that. And that's a step for him. And I think he still can make it. I don't think he's anywhere close to not being able to make it. Like I said, I think he is sincere and had a bit of what I would refer to, for lack of a better term, as a relapse, if I'm being honest. So the pass forward's there. He's just got to take it. Kevin Durant, I know you're listening, avid listener of Grizz 901. Please take our boy under your wing and help him find the path. Damn, everyone tweet at KD. Tweet at KD this clip.
You got Kevin Durant. You got Blanton's. Man, what are you doing over there? Get off your knees.
Where luxury meets affordability. I got it.
Right. So real quick, the whole Second Amendment stuff, I get it. I understand people are bringing that up. I understand that people are bringing up the race thing about if it's a white guy, the black guy. I get all of that. I understand it. I know that a black person is legitimately looked at differently than a white person. That's just the truth. It sucks. Plain and simple, it sucks. But it's the truth. And there's no hiding behind it. I can admit it. Like, literally, I know. I can see it. I understand. I have friends. They view it the same way. I get it. Okay. So it's not like we're not saying like it could be a little racial bias, but also if it is somebody that's kind of gone down that path before, I think a little bit of the race is gone a little bit by saying, hey, you kind of screwed up before and you just screwed up doing the exact same thing that you apologized about. You got a little egg on your face. And that's not to the fans saying that. That's to Ja. Ja's got a little egg on his face this time. And so it's hard to overlook it. It's just simple, bro. Just be better. It's time to grow up. It is. Like the gun stuff, I get it. It might be who you are. I don't know. I'm not here to judge. I don't have guns. I'm not a big gun guy. Okay. Some people are, and that's fine. You do you. But I just don't understand needing it and showing it off. It's not a toy. I think he needs to start respecting guns. If not, man, I'm telling you, somebody's going to try to challenge him one day. And that's not exactly the life he actually wants to be a part of.
That's why I think it's acting out. And just to tie a bow on this, that's why I think it's acting out. It ain't cool.
It ain't cool.
He knows it ain't cool.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't make you look anything other than silly. Like, let's be clear. It makes you look silly. I will say, for anyone who watched the video, impeccable trigger discipline by Ja Morant. If you see the screenshot, that listen, where it was dumb, he shouldn't do it. It's dangerous.
Let me get my gun.
Let me also be very, very clear. The finger on the slide, never even close to getting inside the trigger guard.
Is this it?
That's great trigger discipline. Now he did have it pointed an inch from his head, which is a terrible barrel discipline. But if for anyone wanting to know anything about guns, great trigger discipline. The rest of it was completely moronic. But I did want to point that out. Give credit where credit's due. Great.
Turn off your IG, dude. Just turn it off, man. There's nothing good ever come out of it. If it is, bro, it's just a girl. That's all it is. All right, let's move on. We're going to hit the suspension stuff, and then we're going to go into a little bit of the offseason stuff. But overall, I think our understanding of the situation is just simple, man. He's 23. Like, the dude should get a break. But as a fan, it's so hard to defend the guy when he just went back on something he did. But I also look back, it's 23. He's 23.
Yes. I don't think we're doing him a service by giving him an excuse.
There's no excuse.
There's a lot more to it than being 23. So
no, I agree.
I just want to point that out.
I'm 100%. I'm just saying he is young. He'll learn. But, bro, if you are a professional, if you are an adult now, that learning curve, that needs to speed up a little bit more.
I agree.
Like that needs to get a little bit faster. He needs somebody to take him under his wing. If he's making probably more than you, he's probably not listening to you. So there needs to be somebody else that he can rely on. I don't know if it's Pops. I don't know if it's any of his homeboys. I don't think it is. I think it's going to be somebody from somebody else. I know people saying Zebo and you're saying like KD. Man, I honestly, I don't care, but it has to be personalized and it has to be somebody that Ja would accept. I don't care who it is. It could be a pastor at a random church that he just goes to. I don't know, but I just know Ja needs somebody. He needs to be able to lean on somebody that he feels comfortable with. One day it will happen. I don't know if he'll have another speed bump in the road. I don't know if he'll have another detour. Either way, Ja will get back, but we also need to give a little bit of grace, but also understand that love, sometimes it's a little tough, and tough love is okay. All right, let's go into a little bit of the suspension that's looming. We had Adam Silver talk about everybody's now scared of what he just said. Give us the backstory on a little bit of the breakdown of what he said when he was with Malika Andrews, and why should you be scared or not scared?
I mean, the scary part is Ja basically slapped Adam Silver and the Grizzlies and everyone else in the face with this. That's the scary part. The Adam Silver part, I didn't take it nearly as poorly as a lot of people did. I don't think that's any new information. We all knew he probably embarrassed Adam Silver after Adam Silver didn't give him a huge suspension. He embarrassed the Grizzlies. It's a gun. I think the thing people are taking to, they're like saying, oh, he was on the verge of tears. I saw a Cole of Grizz Twitter, much more famous than myself, saying that. That's also how Adam Silver talks. He's not the best public speaker. Like, it's not unlike him to have a bit of a shaky voice. It's not making fun of him. It's just honestly how he talks. Also, when he said, I'm expecting the worst, that sounded more to me like he's expecting, yeah, it's exactly what it looks like in the video. So we're going to have to suspend him.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, and I don't think it changes much of what I thought, which is anything from 15 to 25 is on the table. Okay. I think anything from 15 to 25 is on the table. Anything above 25, honestly, above 20, I would think is excessive. And if you get into 30, like half a season, it's all possible. I'm not the commissioner, but that would be crazy. If you're giving him more than Miles Bridges, who is facing criminal charges for beating the daylights out of the mother of his child in front of said child, bro, for something that it's not in a vacuum, obviously, but if it was in a vacuum, Ja's not getting suspended a game for this.
Yeah.
Ja's not getting suspended a game for this if it's in a vacuum. Now, it's not. It's the opposite of in a vacuum. He did the same exact thing 2 months ago. But I think, and personally, maybe they go up to 20. I was leaning towards 15, 16, because in that case, you put him behind the 8 ball. It's a serious suspension. His team's going to suffer. He's going to suffer. He still has a chance to get NBA awards, though, but it's super, super slim. But then it's like, hey, what's this? You were super hard on him, where if he doesn't hit it, you say, okay, it was enough where he couldn't qualify for NBA awards. 2, if he does do it, then you have a superstar of your league playing in every single game for most of the season, which is a win-win for the league, right? And at the end of the day, if you're the league, you want him to be successful. Clearly, you want him to be successful. So that was my initial leaning. Maybe the outside pressure is enough to bump it up to 20, 25, but it would be crazy to me for it to go, honestly, 25. I think that's so high. That's so high for this.
Yeah. Listen, I'm in the same boat as you. I thought there is a potential that he could not get suspended because there wasn't anything behind it. Like, it was very brief. He wasn't on his own IG Live. And then it was mainly just my thoughts of it was in a vacuum. And the more I thought about it, they're going to suspend him. It's going to be at least 10 games. They're going to be at least over the 8 mark, right? So 9+. If you, JJ Redick said, he expected probably double of what he got, because at some point, right, it's not Miles Bridges. It's not him, but it's also not, is it Javaris Crittenden? I think he got 25 games, I believe, when he had the gun in the locker room. I don't think, but as Dak Daniels said, he doesn't believe it'd be more than 15 or 16 because of the players' union. It would be a bad precedent to set. I agree. I think I'm around the 15 to 20 mark. I don't think it'll be more than that because at some point, it's not the on the court stuff that he's really just kind of killing you on, right? And it's not really hurting your brand. It's the off court stuff. But also as a human, is it bad enough to say, hey, we need to keep you off the court? Or does off the court and away from the team, is that too much? Because then you're away from the team and maybe you aren't with the guys you actually need. I think it's a fine line, man. And it's so dangerous when guys are suspended because in the NBA, I think they're allowed to be actually with the team. So it's not like he has to be away, but he could be. I don't know the ruling or whatever, but my thoughts are as long as he's with the team, I feel the best.
That's
right?
The big thing.
Yeah, because then you can't just kind of slough off and whatever. Ja has had a tough 5 years. And not tough in the fact of like, oh my God, like I feel bad for this guy. No, he's had a tough 5 years. The simple fact is, he's gone from somebody living in Elizabethton. Is it Elizabethton? Elizabethtown? Whatever. Elizabethton, Tennessee, Missouri, Kentucky. It's Murray State. Sorry, I've been up there many a times. I had an ex-girlfriend that went there. Either way,
yeah, clearly.
Yeah, I just drove. Put it in the Google Maps and got there. Anyway, so it's there. There's not much there. Anybody can be the king of the town. He went from there to being really a nobody, to being found in an auxiliary gym, to being potentially the face of Nike, the face of Powerade, the face of the NBA, the most known American basketball player in a sense. Like, he is one of the top dudes. That 5 years has been a skyrocket. It's got to be tough in our mentals. And just like you were saying, a little depression, a little trying to find himself, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, whatever. The dude is struggling. He's looking to find his way. He's 23. He needs to find his way. It's taking a little bit longer, and there's no excuses for any of it, but he is going to eventually find his direction. How much of that suspension works negatively against him personally, I think that's the fine line that they have to walk.
I think he's allowed to be around the team the whole time. And I don't know how suspensions work with the NBA, if there's a way for you to be suspended and still be on the bench with the team during a game. I don't think you can do that, but it's the same thing. If you're the NBA, not just the Grizzlies, if you're the NBA, you don't want to be punitive as more than you want to be this to be rehabilitation for Ja and a step forward for Ja. And so I can't imagine that they suspend him for being around the team at all. If there's a possibility, I don't know suspension rules. If anybody does in the comments, let me know. I think he can be around the team and team activities. He just can't play. And I would let him be around the team as much as possible because it's better for him, which is better for the league. So I anticipate that. But again, I think when it comes to the suspension itself, the spitting in the face of Adam Silver is what's gonna come down to, because that might be what they decide to bring the hammer down for. That's why I'd say anything from 15 to 25, I think, is in play, even up to 30 if you're being super extreme. But for everyone saying like half a season, a full season, bro, that's so absurd. That would be ridiculous, even with bringing the hammer down. I think bringing the hammer down is 20, somewhere between 20 and 25.
Yeah.
I agree. In general, I think 15, 16.
Yep, I agree. Listen, bringing the hammer down on Ja would be I think that worked negatively against him because I think, a little too much. You want to love the guy, and you also want to say, hey, let's not push you away to where you maybe relapse and kind of go another direction.
Yeah. What's the line between him taking it serious and being able to keep him in the fold and keep him off the ledge? Yeah. Don't get close to the ledge, buddy. We want to keep you around. Yeah.
All right. So something you can bring the hammer down on, Zach Jaworski, State Farm. Our guy that is somebody that you can count on if you're looking to kind of look for an automobile upgrade, looking for somebody who you can feel confident in. You can go and call Zach and his team over at 901-794-3691. Zach and his team do a very good job. They treat you like family, as their motto is, but they will make sure they find you the best rate, an honest rate, and whether it's homeowners, renters, life insurance, whatever you're looking for, Zach Jaworski and his team are one of the best. They're in Memphis. They're in East Memphis as well as Collierville. They have 2 locations. If you don't walk in, just let them know the Grizz 901 team sent you. But call Zach and his team. Let them know the Grizz 901 team sent you over there and that you're looking for a good rate. If you have insurance and you're not happy, call them, and I promise you they will do right by you. You didn't like my hammer down on them?
Not your best work.
I thought it was really good.
It's right. It's just you want to make sure Zach gets the best because he's a guy who saves you money so that you can afford where taste meets affordability in Bland, which is already so affordable, right? But at the same time, you can never have too much. So you want to make Zach gets the best, and it wasn't your best.
It's only affordable if you can find it. But
that's
the
true.
reason you can't find it is because it's good and affordable.
Sorry. Once they sponsor this show, we'll have plenty on hand. All right. We're getting off the rails.
The off-season bonanza. We want to talk about this, and we'll end the show on this. We got maybe, let's say 10 minutes. We'll go up to the 55-minute mark. We're not going to go over the hour. We're going to wrap it up. So 10 minutes, not too long. We're already at 45, which I said we were going to be at on a normal basis. This has now been the topic of conversation. This is what's happening in the Twitter streets, the Bird app. Everybody is saying trade Tyus. We're still going to stay locked on. This is the best you can get for Tyus. But now we have this suspension that's looming. We don't know what it's going to be like. We need somebody who can be the point guard of this team. What say you on what we should do with Tyus?
Daniel Greer, from the streets of Fraser to the streets of Twitter, to come up. Oh, man. Well, free agency, I think I will say, just to tie this into the Ja stuff, it does affect Grizzlies free agency, but not in the way a lot of people on Twitter are talking about it. You got to worry about one, guys in the locker room dealing with distractions, which is not free agency, but it is another concern. But the other part is you got to convince free agents this is a safe place to come where you can succeed and a good place to come. And the drama does not help that, right? It's not completely off the rails, like I said, but I don't think it super helps that. They cannot sit on the bench or talk to the team, but I guess can be in the building. Oh, shout out to Dak Daniels. So they can't sit on the bench or talk to the team, but I bet they can talk to the team outside of games and stuff, right? I don't know, Dak, if you could clarify, if they can't talk to the team at all, that sucks a lot. Changes some things. We might just have to have some burner phones going for Ja Morant. Yeah, that's a massive bummer. Hopefully he can talk to them outside. I can't imagine you say you can't talk to your buddies outside.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Hopefully he can go to practice. Anyways, back to this. The biggest thing is the Tyus Jones stuff. People saying, Tyus isn't going anywhere. Why?
What changes?
Why would Tyus not go anywhere? The whole point is you can have this offense run without the backup point guard. Like, listen, Desmond Bane was running the offense pseudo efficiently with half a big toe.
Which update? He had surgery today. Very successful. Put his big toe back together.
Yep. You got Luke Kennard there. The Bane Kennard thing was able to run the offense. And here's the thing. Why did you need a backup point guard? Be able to run the offense. You know why? Because there was no space. Zero space. So you got to be able to dribble through traffic and create. Guess what happens if you got 4 shooters on the floor at a time? You got a football field in between defenders that guys can all of a sudden run through. You know what that means? All you got to do is be able to dribble somewhat proficiently. Like, that's all you need. I would much rather have a Jeremy Grant or somebody out there on the wing for you to be able to throw the ball to. And he can create his own shot a little bit. He doesn't have to create the rest of the offense. You play within the system during the regular season, which is all we're concerned about. And then you get to the playoffs, okay, you've maximized your potential and you got Ja Morant running it. Nothing changes. Yeah. Nothing changes. I've seen some people saying that's like entertaining it. I don't know why. During the regular season, just get a guy who can create his own shot, get you a combo guard, get you a wing who can create the same exact thing you were going to do beforehand.
Yep.
Like this, it doesn't change anything to me.
Yeah, I think nothing changes. I really think that the Grizzlies, what they're going to do is they're going to try to go after somebody to fill that Dylan Brooks role, right? So numero uno, fill the Dylan Brooks role. Whatever that looks like, we'll get that. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. We've already kind of hit on that last. And then from there, you're getting somebody who can kind of maybe veteran leadership, a little bit more shooting off the bench. I think they like their guys. It wouldn't shock me at all if they don't go get anybody other than just a vet to kind of be on the bench in the locker room, right? So that's 2. The third thing is with these draft picks, you also are getting another spot for a two-way player. Jacob Gilyard, not an amazing NBA player, not an amazing player, but you want somebody to pass the ball? I think he's 5'9". Okay, he's your height. Aren't you 5'9"?
I'm 6 foot, but appreciate
whatever, somewhere around there. So he's your height, right? So it's you running around with big hair and passing the ball. And so, like, that's really what he is. He's not anything else special, but he led the G League in assists. Like, he's fine if you have to have him there, but I would expect them to go after somebody in the second round, maybe combine both of those and move up a little bit and go get a backup point guard for the years to come. whether that's a combo guard, whatever. I think it's that simple. I don't think you have to go crazy with your backup point guard. I think you can go with that. You already know that you're going to go get possibly a vet, somebody who can run your second unit. You need somebody to fill that Tyus role. I think that's a great possible spot. What I would do personally is I would find a way, if there's any way possible, to go get a Trey Jones, go get either a Devin Vassell or a Keldon Johnson. I go get both of those from San Antonio, if at all possible, in exchange for whatever you have to give up, whether it's draft picks, because then you have draft picks you can surround around Wembanyama, whatever it takes. Then you can move on from Tyus Jones. You have a guy who is pretty much Tyus Jones, but younger, and he's cheaper. And you then have somebody to be able to run your second unit. Maybe he starts for the first 20 games. I'm not against it, man. I feel confident in the Jones boys. I think that they both are very good. I watched both of them at Duke. I'm a Duke fan, whether you like that or not. And I think that they both could do that. So I think that's a possibility. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, because if it's me and I'm running the team, those guys are too cheap to move on from, unless you can just really get 2 first-round picks for both of them. At that point, maybe you move on and make the money work somehow. So whatever. We'll figure it out.
I mean, I obviously wouldn't hate Trey Jones on his team, but it's the same thing. It's the use of your resources. And I just think if you go get a Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones type thing, you don't have enough resources left over to fill the other gaps, in my mind. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Also, if you're San Antonio, like, how valuable do you think the Grizzlies picks are to build around Wemby?
That's the issue.
Probably not that valuable, right? And so that's my issue there.
Okay, so on that, talk about the Grizzlies picks next year, right? Let's say the you get a potentially bad 30 games for Ja, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Your record's not going to be as good. You probably still could make the playoffs with what currently constructed without Dillon Brooks, without Ja Morant. You're still okay enough, right, to be close enough to make the playoffs. When Ja comes back, you make the playoffs, whatever. But also you have that Golden State Warriors pick. Who knows what they're going to do? They obviously have a guy who Klay Thompson, who they want him to take a pay cut. You have Draymond Green, who can opt into whatever number he can opt into. That's a crazy amount to be paying for Draymond Green. There's so much that's happening there. They still have Steph Curry. He's pretty much still in his prime. What do you do with that? Like, there's so many questions around that. That pick could look really good before the season. Do you trade that away to get somebody else because maybe you think they're going to be better than what that pick does? I don't know. There's a lot of questions, as you can see. The offseason bonanza is crazy, and I think there's so many different directions you can go. That
my number one, Jeremy Grant.
Wow.
I think Jeremy Grant just became available.
Okay. Because
that's my biggest one.
Because they have the 3rd pick in the draft.
Yep. I think I might have his contract. Oh, I don't have it pulled up anymore. I had his contract pulled up. I can't remember what it is, but I just think he became more available.
Dak Daniels says, is Wemby too good to tank? Like, because you have him on your team, is he too good to tank? Like,
we'll see. I doubt it.
I think he's going to be very skinny. I think he's going to be Kristaps Porzingis-ish, where he's going to be very, 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 a lot of wiggles. I like his wiggles. But I do think that he's still going to be frail. And I think he's going to be Chet-like, where, I think Verno said him today on his podcast that no big man has played over 1,000 minutes other than one or whoever. Like it,
dude. And Wemby's the scariest, right?
Yes,
to me,
yes.
He's the scariest out of all those guys.
Yeah,
he's so skinny and he moves so much like a guard. It freaks me out. I'm gonna be honest. If I was San Antonio, I'd be a little freaked out about that. But it's okay. Yeah. Mid-level exception on Bobby Portis. Let's do that. That's my biggest.
All right, real quick. Give us an update on the game. It looks like it is halftime. Give us a number.
72-54 Nuggies. Dude,
all
Jokic
right.
is just crazy. It's insane.
All right. We will probably not be back. We'll be back here next Tuesday, right? So I'm not sure the schedule. So give me your winners before we get out of here. Obviously, you have the Western Conference, Eastern Conference. You have Western. You have the Lakers against the Nuggets, and then you have the Heat against the Celtics. This is a bubble matchup, bubble rematch. Who you got?
I think Nuggets in 6. I'm not on the Lakers train that much, so I'm going to take Nuggets in 6. And I'm taking the Heat in 6. I think the Heat are too consistent for the Celtics. I thought Philly, if they were consistent at all, beats the Celtics in that last series.
Wow.
I like the Heat, man. I'm kind of on that train. If Jason Tatum plays like he has been, though, I mean, it's Celtics in maybe 5. Like, that's crazy. I know you love your Duke guys.
He will. I believe it's. I think it's going to be Denver in 6. I say Celtics in 6. I think they're going to win in Miami. Business trip. The weather shouldn't affect them as much as it affected those Knicks, those New York Knickerbockers. That weather down there in Miami, rough.
Yeah, that's the weather.
All right, let's get out of here. Thank you, obviously, to you for being on here as always. Thank you for everybody who listened in. I will say though, we now have 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube page. Can't thank you enough. We asked for that. We expected to still be in the playoffs when this would happen. That would have happened much sooner if we were in the playoffs. But right now it did not happen until today. So thank you for that. Also, if you want to be a subscriber or not a subscriber, but an insider to Bluff City Media, just use code Grizz901. Easy enough, Grizz901. It'll save you 10% off. We're working on other things, some new ideas on how the insiders deal would work. But one last thing is we have a show that we record tomorrow. If you are a person that does like a little sports gambling, tune into that. It is a lot of fun. Me and Chase do it. It's Bluff City Bets. If you don't follow it, go follow Bluff City Bets over on Twitter. But we have a good time. We try to give you as much insight as possible. I am a degenerate gambler now, but I try to give you a little bit of insight on what I like and different ways to win, what to do, what not to do. And so I am up on a normal, consistent basis. I usually don't lose most months, just for being somehow I try to discipline myself to not be a ding dong, and I don't try to bet when I drink because that's usually when I lose. So if I just didn't drink and I didn't bet, I'd probably be up even more. But that doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. But by all means, go over there, hang out with us. We do not do that one live, but we could start doing it live very soon. We are sponsored over there. We have a brand new sponsor. I don't want to release the information out just yet. But in June, we will be sponsored by someone, and it'll be really, really cool. So we have a whole new deal over there. So more information to come. But if you enjoy that, if you enjoy gambling, any sports gambling at all, just join us over there. It releases every Thursday at Bluff City Media over on their YouTube page. But that's all we have. As the thing says, be nice and tell your friends.